Aloha and welcome to this lesson on enumeration. So sometimes when we're going through a container, when we're looping through a container and we're doing something with each value, sometimes we need to know what our position is within that loop. So in other words, what number loop are we on? Which iteration are we on? So there are several ways to do this. And I'm going to show you right now using the using VS Code. Hold on just a second. Let me share my screen. Share screen. Here we go. So we're looking over here at the first example. We're setting up a list of 3 objects, 4, 8, and 10. So one way that we can keep track of where we are in there as we're going through it is, first of all, we'll set up the for loop using a number in the range of the length of originals. So what we're looking at there is the range of the length is basically going to say, hey, how long, how large is this? It's 3 elements. Okay, so we're going to be looping over 3 elements, 0, 1, and 2. So we set up this loop. Then the first thing that we do is we say the value equals origins at the location of index, because remember, index is telling us which position, 0, 1, or 2. So we're going to say value is equal to the value that you find at 0, 1, or 2. So we're using the index in our loop here. That is going to be our index, and then the value that is located there is going to be gotten here. So we can say, okay, that's how our element at this position is equal to this number. So that's how we go about doing it if we're tracking using the range on the length of this. There's another way to do that. Oh, and also, if we do a quick print of that, we can see that we get 4, 8, and 10 as the results. So we're going to go ahead and comment that out. And we'll look at the second example, which is going about it a slightly different way. So what we're doing here is we've got the same exact list, but then here we're saying for value in origins. So now it's value is going to take on 4, 8, and 10 instead of 0, 1, and 2, which are the positions. So we say for value in origins, 4, 8, and 10, we're going to get the index by saying, we're going to say origins, the list dot index, and then we're going to give it the value, and it'll tell us what that actual position is. The problem with doing that is I wouldn't say computationally expensive, but it's costing you computational value at this point to retrieve that. So that's something to keep in mind as you're going through a massive object. It can slow you down. Even little bits here and there can slow you down over time. So then we do a print, and we can say the index, which we just derived here, and the value right there. So if we run this, we can see that, yes, once again, we get 4, 8, and 10. There is, however, a more Pythonic way, a cleaner way of doing this. And let me show you what that is. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to, same thing, origins 4, 8, 10. But this time, we're going to use the enumerate function. What is the enumerate function? Well, the enumerate function here, it takes an object, a container, which in our case is origins. So what it will do is it'll enumerate these, and it'll give us a tuple at each iteration. And that tuple is going to contain your index and your value. So what we're seeing here is something that we haven't covered yet. It's called unpacking. So we've got this right here. We're saying that this, remember before in our example up here, the 4 value and origins, what's happening here is every time we go through a loop, the value at that position in origins is assigned a value. So we loop through it one by one. What's happening here is at each step in the iteration, index and value are simultaneously being assigned to whatever is coming out of this enumerate origins. So as I mentioned before, enumerate origins is giving us a tuple that contains the index and the value at that index. So each time you go through, we're taking that tuple and we're assigning it to simultaneously the index and the value. And that process of assigning things simultaneously, we call that unpacking. So when we go through this, you'll see the same result as before, 4, 8, and 10. And when you look through this, You can't just use this independently and think that you're going to get a tuple coming out of it. It's only when you're using it in a loop that you're going to get that tuple value. So if we were to go and take a look at the, just take a look at, doing it this way, we will see that we're going to get back an enumerate object. So it's not an actual tuple until we're using it in this context. So anyhow, this is how you can get both your index and your value at the same time. You can do it cheaper computationally, and it's more Pythonic, and it's just shorter, and it looks more elegant to do it that way. So so in here, we've learned that we can get this through two different ways, but we can also get it in a more shorthand form using this thing we call unpacking. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to ask me, send me an email, give me a shout out, and I will be sure to get back to you in short order. We'll see you in the next lesson.